And I ran out of this space, that's fine.
How many people in, well, this doesn't work. I'm loud enough, probably don't even need this, but we'll figure it out.
How many are people here are business owners? I see. You're all real estate investors.
This has a bad battery on it.
Good night, we can use this one.
Awesome. Is there something you're gonna want to introduce?
Do Matt Jones first,
Okay.
and then I actually want to bring people up,
Okay.
and then we'll start. If you didn't know, water, soda, pizza was we'll talk about that later. And if anybody wants tea, let me know, because I forgot the cord downstairs. All right, go ahead and you can start.
You want me to rock and roll?
There you go. Yeah, you're on.
All right. I'm gonna stand up. I thought I could be walking around. I have too much energy to sit in this chair. Now I gotta sit here and beam up to this camera over here. So President invited me here to speak on the 1031 exchange and how it can be an outdated system for some things that we're going to share with you today. My name is JP Paul. I'm a business consultant. I'm here working with Matt Jones. Raise your hand, Matt. Matt is the Texas CPA, and he's the one that we're going to be setting up a lot of the tax strategy that we're going to talk about a little bit now. Tax time's coming. This is not going to be a boring tax conversation. It's going to be pretty exciting, I think, for everybody. I'm going to try to. I've been walking through this crowd and having some fun, man.
I'm sorry, I got you.
You share with me. So a little bit about me. I've got a master's degree in business. I fell in love with consulting. I had a manufacturing business for years, but what I decided was I love talking business with business owners. I started a consulting business. A master's degree. I studied for a couple of years with Tony Robbins as a platinum partner. Keith Cunningham up in Austin, who's a 9-figure network guy. I trained them with him. I learned marketing from a guy named Derek J. White and Jay Abraham, which is the strategy of preeminence. And these guys really, I just find that if we're constantly feeding our minds the right things, then we create a mind space where the weeds won't grow. So business has been my passion. And what I'm going to share with you today is something that that I discovered about 5 years ago. And Matt has kind of become an expert in this area over the past few years. Matt is he's a CPA licensed here in the state. He's got a master's in accounting, and he's also an enrolled agent, which is the highest level of tax certification that the IRS gives out. And so he's like these you know these guys in Silicon Valley. They're just the wonder kids of the tech world. He's that to accounting here in Houston. I'm going to tell you my story. So I bought my first business. It was a manufacturing business. And within a few short years, we doubled the size of the business. And I was making more money than I dreamed of, or maybe I guess I dreamed of work, but it was like a far off dream, right? And I remember sitting at my desk and I had to write a check to the IRS for $100,000. I was like, this sucks. Why are they getting all this? And so I want you to imagine that's you. Now, if your number's higher than that, then use your number. I'm sure people out there have a higher number, but just think about this $100,000 sitting at your desk. You're gonna write this $100,000 check. And then next year comes along, you gotta write it again. And the next year you write it again. And a decade goes by. And you've given $1 million to the swamp. Now, I don't care if you're red or blue or purple. 30% of Americans think they're doing a good job over there, right? And I'm imagining with business owners here, we probably think it's a lower number than that, right? But what if instead of sending that money to the swamp, you could take those dollars and apply it to the people and causes that you care about most, legally and ethically? That sounds pretty good. But my man here advertised that we're going to learn about the 1031 system and how something is better. So I got to touch on the 1031 system. And everybody's familiar with the 1031 exchange. How many people just absolutely love it and think it's the greatest thing and easiest thing to get involved in? You love it. Wow. We got 1 out of 50. Awesome. We're running about a 5% rate here. So here's some of the hurdles and the difficulties you have 1031. I was talking to some folks earlier, right? There's financing issues. That if you have a financing issue, it can cause a delay in the whole deal form. We also have this window that if we don't designate or replace the property within a certain amount of time, lose that opportunity, right? Nobody thinks about having to use it for their personal residence, but what if you did have to get out of your personal residence in a short period of time? You'd be subject to capital gains on that. So the 1031 wouldn't even work for that. But what if there was a way that you could escape 99% of the capital gain and 100% of the pain? See, if Presley has a property and we want to exchange, but all of you guys are in here, it may be that I'm the only one you're able to exchange with because of the way the rules are, the timing and everything. But if you just need to sell your house and all of us are buyers in here, your market's a lot wider. You can turn that to property, right? So, and what I'm going to show you can also apply. And is anybody going to sell their business, you think, in the next 3 to 5 years? Anybody? Okay. This would also apply to saving 99% of capital gain in the sale of your business too. We're going to show you. So about 5 years ago, as I was continuing to pay these taxes, I met an enrolled agent CPA up in Dallas, and he introduced me to this trust and foundation system. And I worked with him for a couple of years, but like a lot of CPAs, you ask a question, and 2 weeks later you get an answer. And I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a business person, my mind's always going. I've got, my motto is, when would now be a good time to do this thing taken care of? And the CPA world doesn't seem to work that way. So I found another guy to do my taxes on this, and he had a couple offices, one in California, one in Nevada, and he was shown how to do this system by a couple 9-figure net worth families, and he became a sniper of this. But the same thing happened, and now I'm consulting on my clients, showing them the system, and we're not getting the proper response. I want it now, and so then I found Matt and been working with Matt. And so I want you to think about it. Did everybody go check out these cars out here? What's the spending one out here, you know? Yeah, what about one of those Lamborghinis? Is that $1 million car?
Maybe the
Okay, it's $1 million car below somewhere, right? So if you want to buy that $1 million car, depending on where you lived, you're going to have to make 1.35 to 1.5 million, send that 350 or $500,000 off to the feds, right? And then now you can buy the car, right? But wouldn't it be cool if you could pay for that car with pre-tax dollars? And you could pay $1 million for $1 million car. We're going to show you that. So, and I'm actually not going to show you this. I'm just going to tell you about it tonight. I'm not going to show you. If I show you this, you're going to glaze over. But if you were paying $100,000 a year in taxes, I want you to be thinking about this in 2023 or 2022. If you can hit that number last year, and you think you're going to do that this year, how much would you be willing to invest to take that $100,000 bill and reduce it to 25? One-time fee. How much would you be willing to invest? Take your tax bill from 100 to 25,000. One-time fee.
Here's what I would normally pay back.
You pay $100 grand for it? I'm gonna sign him up. Anybody else?
So if it's 100,000 gross.
100,000 in taxes. We're gonna get it down to 25.
So
Pay for that one time.
at least 25 to 50.
25 to 50.
Or got anybody want to go 51? 51, 51, 52.
I pay 75 to be honest.
Yeah, buddy. I love this guy. Exactly. So, and what if when you set this system up, you could buy this car down here with pre-tax dollars? And what if you were able to pay for your personal home, mortgage, taxes, maintenance, utilities, pre-tax dollars, healthcare expenses, all your out-of-pocket healthcare expenses? You can pay for your children's college education, pre-tax dollars, legally and ethically. And what if all of those assets that you own are locked up in a lawsuit-proof vault? So if somebody sues you, they can never get to your assets. Sound pretty cool? right? So how many of you, I'm gonna switch questions here a little bit. How many of you utilize the system when you're buying real estate where you form an LLC for each piece of property? You have multiple LLCs?
You put some, like a certain dollar amount in one LLC, you put a certain dollar amount in one LLC, you move on to the next. So
Okay. And do you do that? Anybody else doing that? So if you're not aware, there's a strategy out there that like she's saying, that she puts $1 million in each LLC, so that if something happens and grandma breaks her hip in one property and she's gonna sue it, the most she's gonna get is $1 million value. And we've got clients that have literally 20, 50 LLCs set up, which means they've got a 50 potential piece of paper on the tax return coming up. And that even if you're only paying one bill, there's still 50 pieces of paper. You're gonna charge for those 50 pieces of paper, I think, right, Matt? Yeah. But what if you could just have one LLC and all your assets are protected? Lawsuit. So that's what this system would also do for you. The ideal client for us that needs to come into this is a business owner. You have to own your own business. This won't work if you're a W-2 employee. Your net income, your gross income, your net income, your taxable income is going to be $400,000. And we also want clients that are wanting to have an asset protection vehicle and that want to give back to society powerfully. Our core value, and happens to align with Matt's company, is contribution. The secret to living is giving. So if we're going to take $75,000 out of the swamp, then we want you to put it, we encourage you, it's your money, you do whatever you want, but we encourage you to invest in causes like your church or child trafficking or cancer or whatever. Give back to local charities or something to make your community better, and put your money to work for the causes that are important to you. I'll boil it down to this. When you work with us, we're going to set up a series of irrevocable trusts and foundations, right? And the cost is $75,000 once. Matt's the tax guy. He does all the tax pieces. I do all the consulting inside of it. This is my passion as a business and helping business owners keep their money in their pockets and put their money to work for the people and causes they care about the most. And just like the 1031 system, which is a tax deferral strategy. A lot of people think that they don't going to ever have to pay taxes on that 1031. It's a tax deferral strategy. Inside of this system, it's a tax deferral strategy that allows you to defer your taxes indefinitely. And what does it definitely mean? It definitely could be tomorrow. It definitely could be generationally. And who gets to determine what indefinitely means? You do as the trustee, and because I said so. You don't buy it because I said so. No, you want to buy it because the IRS said so. It's right in their tax 643B to be precise. They're the ones that say that you can take this and defer your taxes indefinitely. Now, this may have sounded boring. I would have been a lot more energetic, Presley, if I got to walk around here and meet some folks. But the long story short is this. Garrett, raise your hand. If you want to see Garrett, if anybody's interested in this, he's got, all you need to do is grab a sheet. It'll have his phone number on there and text him your name and discovery. And you'll set up a call, discovery call, like 5 to 10 minutes. You can literally do it in your car on your way home. And he'll ask you some questions to determine if this is going to fit for you. If it fits for you, we'll set up a call with Matt and myself, do a Zoom call, and we'll run your numbers right through it. And what you'll get from me, which I didn't get when I got into the system, was here we set it all up and now push it out and figure it out. Which fortunately I kind of like doing that stuff, but it's still frustrating. But I don't want to do that. I want to get people to understand and become snappers on this. We have a monthly call every Tuesday, first Tuesday of every month, where we are bringing all our clients and even prospects on board, or reminding them, hey, you got to fill out here. Or they'll come and they'll say, well, how do I set up? How do I use money out of my foundation? How do I invest money out of my foundation and grow it? All these tips and tricks that we use, I don't want to say tricks because it sounds like we're putting one over, but we're not putting one over. Just ways to maximize your legacy building for your family. And the other thing behind these things is if you get to that point where you're going to be subject to a death tax, there is no death tax because your children become successful beneficiaries, and the thing just bids, so it continues to live like a living trust. But unlike a living trust, and we can get into it later, it's lawsuit proof. And you can't pierce it because you don't actually own your assets, your trust. Anyway, if anybody, I don't know what the time is, if anybody wants to ask me a few questions, especially if they have some time on that, we good? Or-
45 more minutes.
You told me I had 15 minutes.
Oh, that was Mr. President, you just hit past.
Wow, okay.
We got plenty of time.
So, anybody have any questions on this? I mean, I can get into some details if you guys want to. I don't have PowerPoint, so it might be kind of boring, but. Yes, sir. Yeah, you can put shares, and it would be, I would say it's a percentage of, your business trust would set up, yeah. So it was interesting, we're working on, acquiring another firm right now. And when we were talking to this fella and telling him what we were doing, he knew about it, he's been a CPA for 50 years or so. And he pulls out his file from one of his largest clients, and this piece of paper floats across, lands right in front of me, and it was a diagram of what we do. We didn't need to do that. I said, that's what we do. And basically, the owner of the company, he owned 1% of the company. And then him and his brother are co-trustees of a business trust. And each one of them own 49, each one of them controls 49.5% of the business inside of the business trust. And then it flows down. So yeah, you can break that out. You can also, the way we set these up is they're bloodline clauses. So if you set it up and your children, it's set up for your children to inherit it. So if Garrett here happens to be my son, you know, he fortunately looks a lot more like his mom than me. If my boy, he's not going to, but if he decides, you know what, Dad, I met this girl at the strip club and she's amazing, I'm gonna marry her, right? I'm like, son, no, we don't do that. And she might be a good girl, but maybe there's something else you should be thinking about. And he makes that mistake, like young men do, right? And he makes that mistake, and she's like, now I'm going after Dad's money. Because the way the trusts are set up, even though he's a beneficiary, he's not entitled to anything. So it's a straight bloodline clause to make thrown out. So protects your children from being stupid. As well, I love that. My kid's a good kid, he wouldn't do that. Anybody else? Yes.
Register as qualified investor and purchase on purchase.
You would register as a qualified investor and you place the asset in the trust. And we can talk more details, yeah. And you'll protect your assets. We're not an investment firm. We have people that we work with that are investors. We met somebody here, Chris. Who's an investor there, right? He does some investment stuff. So what we like to do is everybody that's in our network, we like to bring them together. We just had a new client who his purpose in life is to teach kids financial literacy. And he's buying a big warehouse like this, and he's setting up a racetrack for the kids in there, and then he's going to teach them about financial literacy. So we're going to go back and forth. Well, we have another client that's exactly what he's all about, is financial literacy. So we put those two together to see how they can work together with their foundations and give back. It's all about building the network with these folks. In the meantime, just if you're interested, set up the discovery call. You can grab the information from Matt and grab it from me or Garrett. And if you're not and you're looking for a CPA, like I said, I'm repping Matt. I don't work with him or for him. I work side by side on some stuff, but he does a great job. So if you're looking for that as well. I'm here to keep answering questions if you want. What's that?
I like this question.
That was a great question. Yes.
Any forms of assets that cannot be.
Any form of assets that cannot be.
Do you have any on the top of your head?
I'm particular, it's kind of curious.
I mean, you can put collector.
Oh, really?
Oh, as investments.
These cars are investments. I've got an associate that he plays a lot different level than all of us, right? I think he actually became a billionaire last year. Yeah. And a friend of mine was is a coach of mine actually driving in Florida with John, and they drive by the Ferrari dealership, and he goes, "I gotta have that car." Whip around, go in the dealership, and it's one of these. I'm not. Don't know that much about Ferraris, but apparently they once in a while they make cars that they only do like 10 of them. So John walks in, he says, "How much is that car? I'm gonna buy it." And the sales guy goes, "It's not for sale." And John goes, "Oh yeah, it is. I'm gonna buy that car." And the guy said, "No." He said, "Give my car to your sales manager." And Kevin said he's sitting at John's house the next day and a truck pulls up in the Ferrari. And John said, "Look, when you buy a car like this, and you pay $1 million for this car, in 2-3 years, I'll sell it with less than 5,000 miles on it for 1.25 or more, right? So it's an investment. So any of your assets, your cars you put into your trust, it's protected. Trust, you're paying all your insurance, maintenance fees, and pre-tax dollars as well. It is a complex system, and that's why you need somebody to help coach you for a year. And you can call me as much as you want to. That's what I like to do. And then when you're ready to buy real estate or anything, we'll talk about strategies to do it. We have one client that likes to use his foundation, which is a charitable foundation. And the way that we set them up, most foundations, you can't pull money out back to yourself. Like if you have a foundation, you put money in it, you can't loan back out. It's called self-dealing, right? But the way our system's set up, your family trust puts money into it. And now your foundation can actually loan back up to you. And you can, this guy does Airbnbs, basically loaning the money to himself. He becomes his own bank in essence. Yes, ma'am. The 6,000 pound rule. I'm not a tax guy. Do you know what that is?
So this is different. This is actually the trust of it. So it's you can spend hard. Great. It's that series of trust and trust can actually have hard. So it doesn't need to have 6,000 pounds.
Is that the yeah, is that 6,000 pound rule? Is that the one where you get to accelerate the runoff or something? Yeah. Yeah. So what you're gonna find out in this system is my motto. If you ever grab one of my cards, it says hide nothing, protect it. What that means is we're not gonna hide anything from the IRS. We're gonna tell them I made this dollar in here, and it went here, here, here. We'll be real specific on that, right? Hide nothing. Now, I've been a business owner for a long time, right? And I need to go take a business trip down to Vegas, right? So I got a seminar on Thursday, and I buy a couple first class tickets for me and my wife. We fly to Vegas on Wednesday night. I go to the seminar on Thursday. She hits the spa. We stay all weekend, and guess what? That was a business expense. But we're kind of coloring outside the lines, right? With owner's yaya, and hide the salami with the IRS a little bit here, right? And so maybe I shouldn't have said that. So we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to pay for our ticket through the business because it's a business expense. And if the wife's not involved in the business, we pay for that person. We're not going to trip over dollars to pick up pennies anymore, which is the old way of the IRS doing it. So we're going to take all these deductions, get our income as low as possible. Don't need to worry about that. Don't need to play that game. I'm not sure if there was yeah, so that's part of the car rule. You're not going to need to worry about that because you're going to pay that pre-tax dollars. I'll tell you another thing that's pretty cool right now, since you guys are real estate investors. I was talking to Garrett on the way here, and I said, you know, high interest rates don't really matter because I'm paying the pre-tax dollars. So I've already got a 30% savings. So if I'm paying 6% instead of 3%, it doesn't matter. Now, ultimately, it does, right? But if you're inside the system, you're not feeling the pain as you would feel it if you're outside. Yes, sir.
Can you use a trust to become a lender? You mentioned earlier you can basically become your own bank. What about becoming an art lender?
I'm not gonna get into the attorney part of that legally, because I don't know what the legal rules are, but if you want to lend me money, I don't see any problem with it, I just don't know all the ins and outs of that. You know, there are, I'll tell you what, there's a fellow that, we work with, and you guys should check him out online. It's called BYOB, which is Be Your Own Bank. And he's also created this app where, he calls it the Tinder for investors, right? So, you've seen it? So on the left side, we've got somebody who wants to sell something. On the right side, we have buyers. And so you're the buyer and you're swiping left and right, whichever way you gotta do it to say yes or no, I don't know. And you swipe, I want to invest in that. Somehow it hooks you up with the person's trying to get a hard money loan. Yeah.
Talk about time frame.
Time frame of setup. Well, yeah, so, well, I'll just go through the process. If you're interested, you get a discovery call with Garrett. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes, Garrett. He's gonna ask you some information because we want to make sure that the system's actually gonna work for you before we get on an hour-long Zoom call. And then once we have that information, we'll make a 45-minute to an hour Zoom call. We'll go through your numbers, we'll show you how the whole system works. If you want to go forward with that, it takes us roughly 30 to 45 days. And then you'll get your approved. We're gonna have to make a multi-member LLC, series of trusts. You'll get this all in this really nice binder that comes out to you. Garrett's created a sheet that has QR codes for all your training. So all you're gonna do is pick up your phone, you can see how things work, right? The first thing you need to do is get these documents notarized. Go down to the bank and get your bank account set up. And then we start talking about trading. There's not much we can do till you got money in the accounts, right?
Can they pay extra to have like maybe a power of attorney and kind of have you do that if they trust you or you're a financial person?
I would say Matt would be the one, because he's a CPA. Here's the beauty of how this works, right? I'm an entrepreneur, so I understand how your guys' minds work, right? And we want to get stuff done really fast, and then we want the computer geeks to figure that stuff out.
You take pride?
Like that in here.
So yeah, Matt could do that. I know he's done some of that before.
The time frame roughly is a month and a half.
Yeah, month and a half. We have time right now. Obviously, the sooner you get set up, the quicker you can start using the system to save your tax dollars. But we've had people that have tried to set it up in December, came in on the wire, and were able to save $50,000 a month.
For 75.
Well, then you probably-
It's on the phone.
He's on the phone. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. I
Can you
can,
answer that?
yeah,
What states are good to find?
Yeah, that's your right.
The first answer, so her question, I guess everybody should have, because you guys are closer to her than I am. It depends on what you're buying. So my partner and our company, we do multifamily. So the best answer is proximity. So you're in Houston, Houston is the best place. If you're in North Carolina is the best place. Specifically, and more importantly, if it's your first deal or first couple deals, because the bank or what we call senior debt is going to want to see that you have some kind of proximity to the asset. You can get around that by having a property management company and a GC in that state, but really the answer is whatever state or city that you're in. Now, if you want to explore, or if you're in the city, you're in Houston, it's an amazing city, but if you happen to be in a city that was not a good city, a lot of cities in the Rust Belt, I am getting a ton, like they're selling off everything north. And that's because everybody's coming south. So all of the property owners want to get rid of the properties there and then move assets other places. Maybe south or maybe into another asset class. Houston, Austin, I think you have to have the stomach for it because it's so expensive, but it's a very good market. San Antonio is the Houston, maybe 15 years from now, so that's just the Texas Triangle. State-wise, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina is pretty hot. In Georgia, Atlanta has been on fire almost as long as Houston's been on fire. But honestly, I would just stay local, and if anything, just stay in the triangle. It's so much stuff here. Yes, everything's overpriced. I think things are normally overpriced, but you just have to put in that work to find that deal that works.
Yeah.
No,
I was
not
gonna
that
say-
state, no.
I was gonna say. We came from the West Coast, nothing's overpriced out here, bro.
Come here, move here. Welcome home.
Is it that I heard, property management company? Right? You just work, you guys usually, or is that how you use it?
I used to coach football, so. Used to yell at kids.
I wanna explore just a little bit more into the background and get into it, and then after that, I want to speak to you guys to see if does anybody have a deal, not now, but just think about it. If anybody's looking for capital, or if you have capital and you're looking to put into a deal. Obviously, if you have capital, you know to be soft-spoken because you'll get ran over with deals. So you kind of went into how you started, set that up, or was it, so you were paying taxes for a long time, like the rest of us.
I still pay taxes.
How did you specifically find this thing?
You know,
Man, they really is. I would, like I said, I was always going out to expand my mind with these various mentors and different groups. And I brought this problem with one of these other business owners. And he said, you got to talk to my guy in Dallas. And it was interesting because at the time I had switched, every CPA that I've dealt with has a different take and a different mentality on how they do stuff. When I first bought my manufacturing company, my tax bill every year was $25,000. We had to jump through all these hoops to get ready for taxes now, right? And then I hooked up with this firm that was a top 10 CPA firm, and my tax bill went to $7,500. And he said, well, here's the deal. Your company on average will get audited about 2.5% of the time. So what your other CPA was doing was making you do all of this work every year in case you got audited. He goes, what we're gonna do is we're gonna charge you $7,500. And on the chance that you get audited, now you're gonna have to pay the $25,000. So I go, okay, so that was the first shift that there's something different going on out there. And I kept looking for different ways, and I heard Warren Buffett say that he was paying a lower marginal income tax rate than his secretary. Wonder what Warren Buffett knows that I don't. That was a really stupid question. If you ask a stupid question, you're going to get a stupid answer because Warren Buffett knows a hell of a lot more than all of us. But I got curious and I kept looking, and I was in one of these groups. This guy said, you gotta talk to my guy in Texas. So I talked to him, and the first thing I said was, it was the first thing almost everybody tells me, and a lot of people in this room are, this is too. And I said,
I thought that.
I was like, I told him, look, I don't want to go spend any time in the federal fund house. It's not my jam. And he said, you know, there's two terms you need to understand. And Matt, if I'm saying it wrong, you can yell at me. But there's tax evasion and tax avoidance. And evasion is when you take that cash and you shove it in your mattress and you don't tell anybody about it. You're hiding the money from the IRS. Avoidance is actually expected. And actually the tax code is all about it. Avoidance. There's like 100 pages in the tax code that tell you how to pay taxes. The other tens of thousands of pages are how to avoid taxes, right? And so there's so long, each CPA can only know certain pieces. And what do? I don't know if you guys are familiar with this term, red ocean space or blue ocean space. So the red ocean space would be like, everybody in the mortgage industry got fat happy over the last 3, 4, 5 years, right? Since COVID. I mean, they just make, if you were a mortgage person, you're gonna make money. If you're a realtor, you were gonna make money. But they're all doing the same thing. But then when the tide turns and things get hot, they all go broke because they don't differentiate themselves. So this is a piece where it's in a blue ocean space. Not everybody does it. They don't understand it because the way that most CPAs work is write off expenses, write off expenses, write off expenses, write off expenses to get your income as low as possible. And they say, hey, I did a good job. Like I've got a friend who's in the mortgage space who, while everybody else is in this panic space right now, he's still making money because he's figured it out back in when he got hammered in 8, 9, how to find his little, carve out his little piece of blue ocean space and do hard to get mortgages, not for people that have bad credit, but for business owners and entrepreneurs. So one of the things inside the system, catch this, is you keep enough money on your W-2 to pay for 3 things only: food, fun, and fashion. Now think about how much money you'd have to make if all you had to pay for is food, fun, and fashion. Yeah, but if you don't have to pay for a mortgage, you don't have to pay for a car, you don't have to pay maintenance, you got kids that are going to school, you don't have to pay for all that. It's kind of flow through your system. I say you don't have to pay for it. You don't have to pay for it with taxable dollars. You're going to pay for it with pre-tax dollars because your family trust is responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the assets in there and to the benefit of the beneficiaries. So that's why you're going to pay for their education, right? So when I met this guy and I decided to do it, and I've been doing it for 5 years now. And then as I met other business owners, I go to the place. I remember I was at this seminar but the way I started consulting on this about 3 years ago, I was at this seminar and the speaker was talking. I don't even know what his topic was about, but somebody asked him a question and said, and he ended it saying, I've got to figure out this tax. I'm just going to get hammered in taxes this year. And the speaker said, I've got that figured out too. And I went, okay. So I happened to bump into this guy at lunch on the lobby of the hotel. I said, do you use a trust and foundation system? And I went, oh, okay. So I went back and talked to the guy on the taxes. And I said, we need to have dinner. And I just wrote it out on a napkin sketch. He goes, can you do that for me? I don't know. Let me find out. Because, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a problem solver. And it's one of our core values, innovate. I believe that if you're innovative, you can dominate any industry. And so I started putting the pieces together, figured that out, and started putting a team. I love talking about the business strategy piece of it, watching them build legacies for their families.
You coach as well, right?
Yeah, I do business coaching as well.
What would you say is the minimum revenue a business should be generating for this complex structure too?
Taxable income is about 400,000. We can do it if you make less. It's just you're gonna have it's not gonna pay for itself in 1 year. But so we're like our target is to have an ROI in 1 year. So if you're making less, it's up to you. You're just gonna know that you're gonna be at a loss for a couple of years when you make it up for it, right?
But most investments are not typically, have time.
Of a year, right? How many people are learning something right now? Guys, as long as I got one, I've been happy to learn.
I like these hustlers right here. I can tell you're a grinder. Man. You need to get my card before beyond this, it's a business stuff. Okay?
Who has deals that they want to promote, find money for? I mean, you gonna raise your hand. You should just stand up here. Okay. Just one person? 2?
He's over here.
Cool. I don't know. I think you need an NDA before you. Can he talk? Gotta ask the attorney, okay, we got a couple people, okay, I just wanted to make sure. So you found the strategy, you started implementing the strategy, and how long have you been consulting on this strategy for?
I've been doing it for 3 years now. You know what I'm finding, this is really interesting, Mitch. I have a really good friend who's a professional fighter. And those guys can make some good money for a fight, right? But they got trainers to pay for, and they get hammered in taxes and whatnot. And he no longer gets paid for his fights. He's got an LLC that gets paid for his fights. And then he runs everything through the system. And so it's just, there's just a lot of ways that you can be creative. And when we work with somebody like Matt, his first thing is stop, JP. Stop. You're being too creative. You know, we're not gonna do that because we can run sideways on this, that, or the other thing. That's what's important, to have the right team in place. The right attorneys for the trust, the right CPA backing. So I've been doing it for 3 years, and it's all about finding the best way to do things.
Is there a particular industry or asset class that you see calls you more? Real estate, tech, oil?
I think it just comes in waves. A lot of our clients are real estate investors, which was one of the reasons I think we got connected. Because, like I say, for the people in this industry, they're heavy in the 1031 world, or they're heavy in this, I gotta have an LLC for every property or every so many hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars of properties. And we don't need to do that. What ends up happening, I was going to tell you, so I was telling you about the food, fun, and fashion, right? Last year, not last year, but the year before, because we're in a new year now. So 21, we moved down here to Texas. My W-2 income was $72,000. And I bought $1 million from this.
You should invite me.
So I just tell you that. It's all there on the tax form, and you can watch how it flows through everything. And it's just like the 1031, it's a deferral strategy. As long as I keep my money in the trust and it's working on an asset, I get to decide as trustee whether it's asset or income. We get into the details about that when we talk with Matt later, but it's right there in the tax code of the trust. You as the trustee determine whether it's an asset or if it's an income. And so I just want you to see the power of that. You know, all you guys in here, when you go to the bank and you say, I make $72,000 a year, I need to buy a $650,000 house, and then I'm going to buy another $350,000 2 3 months later. How many of them are going to be excited to do business with you, right? And so there's that, and the fact that I've got this other guy that works, that's in our system, who's this mortgage guru, who helps people find the right way to finance things. He's in that blue ocean space.
How many people are motivated?
Getting
To that
motivated.
$400,000 mark.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm about to bring you up here in a minute, sir.
Well, that might.
I'll start it and you can finish, Matt. How about that? Opportunity zones. Are you thinking about moving to Houston? No? Phoenix is an amazing market. I'm trying to remember the numbers from the guy that I met. But I met a guy who is an apartment syndicator in Phoenix. Can't forget his name. He went, I believe, in 2 years from 0 to 1.8 billion in about 2 years. Apartments is easier to scale, but yes, Phoenix is a really good good area. Opportunity zone, so I'm gonna start, I'm gonna flip it over there. For Texas or for Houston, I don't know if it changes outside, but it is a way to, well, let me go back. It is usually an area that the city or the county or whatever wants to revitalize or put some more money in. And instead of the city putting money in there specifically, they create a way that you can get your money back through the taxes on the improved land or when you improve the land. So, your time.
So I'll talk about the tax side of it. So you can, it's limited amount of time, I think it's still 2020. Qualify off. I think so. They keep changing it though, so they could move it later. To invest. So there's qualified opportunity funds, you either create one or you invest. But it needs to be a qualified opportunity fund. And you invest into it, and you can take capital gains off of whatever you sold. The business could be another building, right? You can take whatever your gain was on that sale, you reinvest all of that gain into the fund. It's deferred until 2027, that gain. So if you think of time value of money, you're saving taxes already. The gain, and if you invest into a qualified opportunity fund for 10 years, keep money in it for 10 years, when you sell it, the capital gains are not taxed. So that one is not a deferred, right? That's actually not taxes. Again, this is, he said, it's to influence people to start refreshing what we areas that we.
We pretty much cover between the two of us. I don't want to go too much in detail, because if I go too much in detail, I'll miss something that gets me. What was your question?
Is there a way for you to plan? I know we always talk about it.
Yes.
Is there a way for you to plan?
So there's a difference between receiving income on it from the property, just rental, say for rental income. That's now that is income, so that would be tax due. But we're talking about you invested into it, so capital, no, that's different. You invested into it, when you sell it, that's if you sell it early, then no, you don't get that. You don't get that. It went before the 10 years. Yeah, you don't get that. You want advantage, you don't get that reward.
Are you able to issue out, is your business, is there a QOB, what kind of business? Are you able to issue out?
Large dividends.
Yeah,
What kind of dividends are we trying to talk about?
So let's say you build a house, it's got a bank, refinance it, let's say have 50K. Business.
They're usually unrelated. The dividends, because, so just imagine you're saving money by not paying taxes. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, so
In a sense.
yeah, you're investing and you're pretty much saying, I'm gonna let it sit here for a while and then maybe I get an advantage by not having to pay taxes myself. That's essentially what, if you pull out too much money and then now you have no, in tax words whole basis, but you have no ownership in the property, you really have no capital. Right?
Did answer your question and your question? Okay, any other questions? Okay, we're actually doing good on time because we usually run over. So if you have a deal, keep in mind, we're live, which is why we'll let them walk around. But if you have a deal, come up here and stand behind the table and you can pitch your deal.
I was gonna say, might not be.
Yeah. That's why I bring him. No deals. If you have money and you want to give it away, you can come up here. But he is correct. So does anybody have a question about the difference between being able to speak publicly about your deal, and does anyone have a 506C deal that they can legally speak about? So the first question is, who has a question about why you can't speak publicly about your deal? Does anybody have that question specifically? Okay. So in real estate, we typically deal with two types of security rules or guidelines. 506B means that you can have 35 non-accredited investors. 30 non-accredited means that, okay, non-accredited.
I was specific syndication, that's all.
It applies to anything dealing with funds, raising money, unless it's a loan or promissory note, then that's different. But if it's a 506C, then you can talk about it publicly. Talk about your deal publicly. So I'm assuming no one here has a 506C qualified deal that they want to speak about. Cool. I appreciate y'all for coming. I'm not kicking y'all out, but I just wanted to. I'm not leaving you quiet. I was like, what about me? I wanted to bring you guys up first, but I really wanted to make sure that we covered everything, especially because you had notes and stuff, and I didn't want to.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, ma'am. Correct. Nope. Nope. We can't talk about it publicly because Securities Exchange Commission says that. You cannot talk about it publicly because that's basically the definition of it. It's just part of the definition. You can't speak public, you can't market it, you can only talk to people that you already have a pre-existing relationship with. And I'm sure there's more details that I'm not. It's quiet, I'm good.
Yeah, so the SEC don't like fraud. So if you're raising capital, when you're raising capital, they want to make sure that who you're speaking with is, business savvy, and they make assumptions based on your income. So income and net worth depends on who you can raise capital from, when you can speak about it publicly. So to keep it short, the 506C, you can raise a limited number of capital from a limited number of credit investors. And there's an income, a net worth, there's an employee test, there's a license test. And for 506B, you can raise money for the 35 non-accredited investors that got to be business savvy. So it's very technical and regulated. That's why we can't come up and pitch deals.
Great point.
Oh, what?
That's your baby.
Oh, yeah, so, most solar panels, some of you guys have kids. I don't, ironic. The nerdy engineer here, all right, love it, introvertism. All right, so you got that kid who just eats the frosting on top of the cupcake, right? You got that one kid who's gonna rip the cherry off the cupcake and eat that, and you got some, thank you. I don't need it now. I'll appreciate it. All right, so, and you have that one kid who eats the cupcake. Most solar panels, all they're doing is they're taking the frosting off the sunlight coming onto them. I have a way to eat the entire cupcake. How would you like me to be your Steve Wozniak? How many of you would like to be my Steve Jobs?
Hey.
I said, I just turned the camera around.
Saw dude.
Steve Jobs. No, I would say more Elon Musk, right? Yeah, this will be, you might want to, they think I'm playing, you might want to take a picture. So serious. He has amazing ideas. So if you're looking for somebody to get on a roller coaster with, have a conversation with him probably before he leaves. All right, I gotta get this readjusted. All right, we're all done.
Let's close out.
How many people coming back next month? 2 hands. I knew we should have had some vodka. Sir, I appreciate you coming. I even more appreciate you sitting still. Because I know what a challenge that is. I was hyper until I was 22. And I was already married. No, I think I'm married to 23, but yeah, I was hyper until I met my wife.
You know,
So.
I'm not hyper. All right, but what I am is, well, first of all, I got white man says I can't dance. But when I talk, it's my dance, it's my stage, I get in a rhythm. And you made me sit and I got no rhythm. So like crushing me a little bit, but hey, thanks for giving me your attention and hit the team up here if you need any more information. And beyond that, if you ever need me, if you're also interested in any kind of business coaching or consulting with your business, let's have a conversation. At least give me my card. We gotta talk next week. There's a lot of things I can do for you inside that space. All right.
We have a little bit more pizza left. It's 8 boxes of soda in there. Please take it home. We have a few more minutes, so you guys feel free.
I had a quick question.
Sure.
In regards in terms of the business consulting, how much percent of that is about marketing?
We can make it as much as you want. I'll tell you real quick. So for me, I believe there's 8 fundamental building blocks of business. The first one is your psychology. If your psychology is messed up, it doesn't matter if you're an expert at everything, because you won't go anywhere if your mindset's not strong. So that's the first thing. The second thing is leadership. Leadership is so important because the first thing you've got to be able to do is lead yourself. And you set your alarm clock up at 5 o'clock, or you set it at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, you not set it at all. And when it does go off, you lay there and you get your ass up. The first thing you gotta do is lead yourself. So the leadership is the next building block. Then if you've got a company, it's about building the culture of the company. This one was a hard piece for me. I'm like, I got culture, I got stuff on the walls. It says this is who we are. No, it's more than that. So we teach a culture. And then we're finally going to talk about sales. I'm not even talking about marketing yet. I'm talking about sales. And I guess sales and marketing can be inverse depending on what your industry is. I came from a manufacturing space that, you know, how am I going to market custom stainless steel restaurant and kitchen equipment? It's more sales based. It's a relationship. I call it sticky sales. I need to have if I've got a great relationship with you, you're going to buy all your stainless from me. And then the next one, we got accounting and finance, we got marketing, we got optimization, and we have strategic planning. So we can talk about all those things. So depending on what kind of marketing you want to talk about, we can talk about that. This. And especially if it's digital marketing, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. I probably hook you up with Garrett back there. He's doing a lot of great stuff. You have a friend? No way, you're so shy.
You already know that one?
That's too detailed for me.
It should be 3%. Unless you are the seller's agent, then it's 6% and you can divvy that out. And any realtor in here? Everybody with their hand up, they can specific, I'm not a realtor. So specifically, you know what? She gonna kill me, right? You don't count, because you don't count. Everybody with their hands up can better answer that question. Because in multifamily, you don't necessarily need to have a realtor or be a realtor.
I'll let you say one.
If you're in the property management, or if you wanted to reach out to somebody, there's a company that a couple that I work with that own this consulting company called Door Growth, and they help property management companies accelerate the growth. It's all about the number of doors you manage, right? So if any of you guys are looking at that, I can get you in touch with those folks too. I spoke at their thing in Vegas here a few months ago, and they have this awesome platform just getting into that specific niche. That's what they're going to focus. So maybe somebody, if you're interested, can be more specific questions on that field. I'm here talking about tax planning strategies in business, things at a high level, right? When we start talking about the